Hi, this is Miss Dawn Marfil for your Lit 1 class, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm kidding. This is for the online classes for the entire time that we will be in quarantine. So this is week 3. Hope everyone's holding on and just staying safe. So anyway, this is for that one class with whom I didn't finish discussing the end of Circle 2, Canto 5 of Dante Alighieri's Inferno. If you're from my Friday Saturday class, we've probably finished this, so you can just go skip ahead to the other videos. For my Monday and Wednesday class, though, I think there's one class that I might have left behind, so this one should be for you. Okay. So this is, anyway, like I said, this is just going to be the tail end of Dante's Inferno for Canto 5. Alright, so let's start. Let me just make my face smaller, because I doubt if you need my face to be this big. Yeah, that should be good. Yeah. And we probably finished around this point, where you have Dante. I know there's a teddy bear there, just ignore it. Yeah, where you have Dante and his guide Virgil going down to the second circle of hell and getting to see what kind of punishment all the souls are getting there. And here you have Dante pointing out certain characters from mythology, history, and literature also, who are all suffering in hell. So you have Dido, Cleopatra, Helen, Achilles, Paris, and Tristan of Tristan and Isolde. And I think we discussed all of them, all their backstories, which brings us to this point where you have Dante noticing two souls that are kind of intertwined with each other, and that's kind of special for this part, and I will explain that later. So anyway, let's continue with this one. This is Dante speaking, or talking to Virgil. At last I spoke. Poet, I should be glad to speak a word with those two swept together so lightly on the wind and still so sad. And he to me, watch them. When next they pass, call to them in the name of love that drives and damns them here. In that name they will pause. Thus, as soon as the wind in its wild course brought them around, I called, "O wearied souls, if none forbid it, pause and speak to us." So essentially, he's asking, "Hey, Virgil, can I talk to those two?" And then Virgil says, "Yeah, you can. Just, try to get their attention. And then when you do talk to them about love, because love is the thing that drove them down to hell. And then it's also what essentially damned them to hell. All right. So, yeah, he said to make sure to talk about that if you want to ask them a few questions. All right. So let's continue. As mating doves that love calls to their nest glide through the air with motionless raised wings, borne by the sweet desire that fills each breast, just so those spirits turned on the torn sky from the band where Dido whirls across the air. Such was the power of pity in my cry. So he is referring to these two souls. You have there Francesca and Paolo da Rimini from Italy. And I will explain who these people are after we read this section. So this is Francesca's response to Dante calling her attention. "O living creature, gracious, kind, and good, going this pilgrimage through this sick night, visiting us who stain the earth with blood, were the King of Time our friend, we would pray his peace on you who have pitied us. As long as the wind will let us pause, ask of us what you please." So she says, so she's being kind to Dante. She's saying, when she says King of Time, she's referring to God. And she's saying, thank you for having pity on us, for taking the time to travel here and look upon us. And then she starts talking about her background at this point. So she says, "The town where I was born lies by the shore where the Po descends into its ocean, rests with its attendant streams in one long murmur." So Po here is not the panda from Kung Fu Panda. Alright, it refers to the river it's a river in Italy. It's one of the largest rivers in Italy, and then the town that it stops at before it reaches the ocean is Ravenna. And if you recall during our lecture, Ravenna is the place where Dante was exiled at. Okay? And within Ravenna, you have their Rimini. Okay? So then she says, I'm from that place. And then she goes on to say, Love, which in gentlest hearts will soonest bloom, seize my lover with passion for that sweet body from which I was torn and shriven to my doom. Love, which permits no loved one not to love, took me so strongly with delight in him that we are one in hell as we were above. Love led us to one death. In the depths of hell, Cain waits for him who took our lives. So that's that's the start of Francesca's tale. So who is Francesca here? Francesca and Paolo are forbidden lovers. See, Francesca was duped by her father into marrying this guy, Giovanni Malatesta from Rimini, and she didn't love him, and she wasn't also attracted to him because he wasn't as handsome, he was crippled, and he also wasn't as cultured as his brother. See, his brother Paolo was obviously more handsome, not crippled, and also a lot more cultured than Giovanni was. So then Francesca fell in love with her brother-in-law, and Paolo was also married to someone else at that time. So basically, the entire time that Francesca was married to Giovanni, she carried on an affair with Paolo. And Giovanni knew about it all this time, but at some point, I guess he wanted to catch them to prove to himself, I guess, that it was really happening. And he did catch them in their bedroom, and he moved to kill Paolo, but then Francesca stepped in front of him in order to save him. But Giovanni ended up killing both Francesca and Paolo, and then when they died, Dante kind of placed them in hell. All right, and also at this time, when this was published, Giovanni was still alive at that time. And the thing is, when Francesca talks about in the depths of hell in this third third, what do you call it, stanza, she says, in the depths of hell, Cain waits for him who took our lives. She is referring to her husband, because Cain refers to the first ring of the seventh circle of hell, and the seventh circle of hell is for the violent, and the first ring is called Cana. This is reserved for those people who have been violent towards others. All right, and that's where Giovanni was going to go, according to Dante. But anyway, yeah. So that's their tale, and if you look at the first and then the second stanzas here, Francesca talks about how they did love each other, she and Paolo, but what made it wrong was desire. See, the thing is, it's not because they loved each other that they ended up in hell. Was his face Dante? Dante has no problems with love. It is just that, if you can remember lecture before, it's just that love cannot be turned into desire, physical desire. If you're gonna love someone, you have to love them from far. Make sure to keep them pure. All right. So in the first stanza, she says, love will bloom in the gentlest of hearts. But what made it wrong was that they developed. Paolo developed a passion or a desire for her body, and in the second stanza, she talks about a certain kind of reciprocity, because when she says love, which permits no loved one not to love, she talks about how when someone loves you as Paolo loved her, it's kind of impossible not to love them back. It's the same thing goes for desire. So once he desired her, it was kind of hard not to desire him back. All right. So and then when she says that we are one in hell as we were above, this is that strange quality that I was talking about earlier. This is the reason why Dante noticed them right from the start. See, like you said, when you're suffering in hell, you're not supposed to notice other people's suffering. You're deeply concentrated on your own suffering. You don't recognize anyone, even if you knew all these people, and you all ended up in hell. You will never recognize someone else's suffering except your own. But the thing is, Paolo and Francesca were kind of. Let's go back to that. Illustration. See, Paolo and Francesca were intertwined. Their souls were intertwined with each other. If you can see, right between Francesca's breast, there's a wound there that kind of harks back to her wound when she kind of stepped in front of Paolo. So that means even in hell, they were still together. They still recognized each other. So she's essentially saying that their love survived even hell. All right, and that's the kind of quality that made them stand out from the rest of the other shades or the rest of the other souls. All right, so let's continue.